Hi, I'm Derek from Aquasana. I want to briefly walk you through what I think would make a pretty good demo in store for the Aquasana powered water filtration system. For this demo, you'll need a few things. First and foremost, you need the Aquasana powered water filtration system with an outlet with some electricity so it can power up. You need a couple of glasses. I have plastic cups. I think glasses would work better than this, but this is all I have. You need a carafe or a pitcher, something to hold unfiltered water if you don't have a sink immediately nearby. And you need some cups, some paper cups that people can use to taste the unfiltered and filtered water. The final piece that you need for this is a chemical called orthotolidine, or OTO. I bought it in a pool chlorine test kit just to show people, to demonstrate how many chemicals are in their water right now and at what concentrations. So with that, this is how I think it should go down. So first things first is you get your unfiltered water and you put it in your vessel. And this is the water you're going to be using for both filtering and unfiltered. So what I'd like to do now is start the OTO test. So you take some unfiltered water, put it in a glass, and you take your OTO and you add about 20 drops of that to this. Okay, that's going to turn yellow over time, and the amount of yellow it turns, or the grade of yellow it turns, will tell you how much chlorine is in that water. So there's a little scale that came with the test kit that'll tell you how much chlorine is in the water, and it'll tell you, basically it's meant for pools. It'll tell you if you need to add or take away chlorine from your pool. So while you're waiting on that, which can take a while, then what you do is you take your unfiltered water and you put it into the powered water filtration system. You don't have to get a ton of water, just enough. You fill in the other glass with filtered water. So now you have the same source water that is in the process of turning really bright yellow, that indicates there's a ton of chlorine in there. And you have the filtered water. You put the same 20 drops in there. I put that right next to that over there. And you basically have a pretty good indication of how much chlorine is in the water. And this will be typical pretty much in any city. So what it's saying right now, and it gets a little bit more yellow over time, is that the amount of chlorine that's in your tap water is ideal to slightly higher than what you need to chlorinate a pool. And so that's a pretty good visual of how many chemicals are in the water right now. What it also demonstrates is this is not turning yellow at all, the filtered water, the Aquasana filtered water. So it's just a real quick visual. The other thing that you can do, if people are interested, is just have them taste the water. So you still have a little bit of unfiltered water. You can put it in a paper cup, and then you have a bit of then I'm going to take some filtered water. And you can just give them a serving of both, have them smell it first, and then taste the difference between filtered and unfiltered water. And the Aquasana water is much more delicious. So note that you should have these Aquasana cups, and then the unfiltered, any other paper cup will do, just to make sure that they're different between the two. So that's a real quick demo. I took some time, but without kind of talking and explaining what you're doing, I think you focus on, oh my God, look at how much chlorine is in your water. Chlorine in and of itself, you don't really want to be drinking, but it also mixes and forms disinfectant byproducts that municipalities measure for in their water. And disinfectant byproducts, a lot of them, like trihalomethanes, which include things like chloroform, are known to be carcinogenic. So the presence of chlorine basically indicates that there's a high likelihood that disinfectant byproducts are also present in your water, which is not good for you. That's a real quick demo. of the power of the Aquasana powered water filtration system. If you also want to demonstrate how the pitcher works, I think that is a good thing to do. If you have a sink nearby, you can just fill up the pitcher. Don't have to fill it up all the way. I've just put maybe a third of the tank in there and put it on the base because it's a pretty interesting visual of how it actually is pumping the unfiltered water through the dock and back out into the outer chamber. And that's it. So you can also use that to give out samples of the filtered water, which works really well. You have a whole pitcher at your disposal. And that is, I think, a pretty good demonstration of how the product works. Thanks.